Okay, today I want to share something that kind of annoys me that rich, famous people do. On the internet, they always talk about how college is a scam and it's a waste of time and a waste of money. And I guess I might be a living example of that. When I didn't go to school. I went straight into the military. I I did get some college through the military because a lot of the training that you go through is college credits, but I didn't get an associate's degree. I did go to a couple college classes, and I may have all the credits I need to have an associate's, but I don't really quite have any sort of degree. I've had some certifications. Excuse me. I never went to anything special to say that I'm anything, at any sort of level of college. So I have some college is what I would be classified as, or maybe an associate's degree. I think I have it all. I just never went to like officially get the associate's degree. But despite that, I was able to make a career and make six figures. I think that that is a rare anomaly. It's not the average. It's not the median type of thing. It's not common. I got into a weird situation and I found a way to do it. Whether I got into sales or I got into just a good position and worked my way up in a company. I guess eventually I found myself uh, not quite prepared for the work I was doing, and then I found myself starting a business. And I guess eventually when I get going with the business could turn into something where I'm making really good money, better than what my education statistic shows. But the statistics say otherwise. And I think that when a kid in high school is hearing anybody, if you're watching this and you're agreeing with me, that you can picture probably three, four, five people right now off the top of your head that are telling our kids that college is a waste of time or a waste of money or a waste of whatever, unless specifically you know that you want to go be, a foot doctor, and foot doctors make this much money, and then you're going to spend that money to become a foot doctor, and you're like so passionate about being a foot doctor. Yeah, they are articulating that, but a lot of kids are not even, like, they're not reading past the headline, or they're not listening past the headline, or they're not fully getting the context. And I know for me, I have a 17-year-old daughter who I think feels that way. They don't they don't quite they don't quite grasp the long-term effect of having a degree, especially if you don't even have to pay for it. It's just not. I guess it's just not like as highly valued uh, by kids. I think kids. All right. I know as an adult, when you mature, you don't quite. Uh, as a kid, you don't quite value things as much as you do when you're an adult and you're more mature. Like if you were, 25 and you didn't go to college and you were like in the middle of the job and had like things going on, you'd say, "Oh man, if I was in college, I would do it differently than when I was in high school. I would pay attention. I would get good grades so that I could get that degree so that I could get an opportunity to have a job." These degrees are not worthless, which is what kind of comes off um, from the famous social media influencer people, is that degrees are worthless. And then the kids think the same thing. They think I can make money without it, and then they think about being an entrepreneur, and they don't quite understand the statistics of entrepreneurship. But I do have a website, and it was on the U.S. Census, but I couldn't figure out how to digest the data. But on on this website called National Center for Education Statistics, they have a chart that explains that, and I can kind of put it up here. I don't know if you can see it, if it makes any sense. But it says all educational attainment levels the average dollars that people might make is about $54,000 a year. And this is set for 2022 for workers between the ages of 25 and 34. If you have less than a high school degree, so you didn't complete high school, average income was $35,500. High school completion, so you got your high school diploma, that gave you an extra $6,000. You got $41,800. Some college, no degree, that'd be like me-ish. You're another almost $4,000, so you're $45,200. Associate's degree, $49,500. Bachelor's degree, this is a huge jump, $66,600. And then an even farther jump, master's degree or higher, $80,200. It's interesting, like between not going to college, where you just get a high school diploma, $41,000, and getting a bachelor's degree, $66,000, you're $24,000 extra per year. From the time, $24,000. Let's say all your working career, if you didn't get a raise, you just got that for the rest of your life until you retired. You got what? You get out of high school at 25. Let's say you work for 50 years, you're 75. That's quite a bit old. Let's say 40 years, 45, or yeah, 40 years. You work 40 years, like a good productive person. That's $960,000 more dollars. I don't know. It just seems backwards. You know, there's a statistical probability of you making good money. It's good whenever you get a degree. Now, some kids, I think they have and I think the influencers or the people on the internet talking about how college degrees are worthless. I do think that they do make a point whenever somebody's going to go get a job, like being an elementary school teacher or something like that, and they're going and paying, $100,000 for a degree. It just the balance doesn't make sense. There should be some sort of a restriction on how much you spend based on the career that you're going to go into, and that should be taken into consideration. But there's a lot of kids, like here in Florida, there's what's called the Bright Future Scholarship, and if you got good enough grades and you do some volunteer work in the community, it's not a lot. My daughter's done it, and it's and just because the school she goes to requires it for your high school for you to graduate high school. So you've got everything done. All you have to do is have good enough grades and get a reasonable score on your SATs, because essentially in order to get into some of these colleges, you have to have that score or more to get into them. Then the state will pay for your education. So it's not even that you have to make sure that you don't pay too much for your education. It's just that you have to make sure to get your education and make sure you're aware of the benefits of getting that education. So I grew up in a household that nobody got an education. I wasn't talked to about going to college. I assumed that there was no possibility for me to go to college. I didn't even, I had that mindset as a freshman. Like when I was going into my freshman year, I just knew I wasn't going to college, not because I didn't want to or I didn't want to think about my future or anything. I didn't think it was possible, because I knew my family didn't have the money to send me. I didn't know what it cost, so I didn't know if I could work my way through, and I didn't know or think that I would qualify for any sort of scholarships or anything unless I made really good grades, like straight A's. And so I just never thought it possible to go to college. Now, because I was in the military, while I was in the military, they give you tuition assistance, which I did, which is pretty much pays for college. I didn't really take advantage of it because I was working, and I don't know, I didn't really think much about the future. And then now I have my GI Bill and a bunch of other benefits that not only will pay for me to go to college, but will also give me like a monthly paycheck as well. I mean, the benefits from the military are amazing. So if anybody is considering the military, there's There's a lot of benefit to it. I do suggest to people, if they can, go to college before so you can have a higher rank. Because when you retire, that education makes a big difference. While you're in, that education makes a big difference. I mean, in the military specifically, I have to look it up. It would take a lot of time, but there's a certain rank that you get up to as an enlisted person that might take you more than a decade to get to. That when somebody starts out brand new as an officer, they're already getting paid more than you. So even the military, there's like 1 million people in the military. Like, this is completely true how this works out. So I don't know. I don't know if the people watching this video will be people that need to hear this, or if they're just people that, if you are just a person that can agree with me, that I wish my kids were taking higher education more seriously, especially because it's not even going to cost them anything. It's just going to cost them time. But they're going to gain so much. Even like right now, for me, I left the company that I was at back in August, and I went looking for a job. And I have the skill set because I've been doing this work for almost a decade. But a lot of the people that I'm competing with on paper, they have bachelor's and master's degrees, but I don't. So how does it stand out when a lot of your applications and your resumes are being filtered by AIs, or just, does the person have it? No, because you're competing against. I noticed, I got the little upgrade on my LinkedIn account, that when you're applying to jobs, you're competing against 1,000 people. And they have to whittle that down before they actually start looking at resumes. And part of the way they're going to whittle that down is by checking to see who's the most educated people here. And you got people there with master's degrees. Like, I think it was like 1/3 of the applicants had master's degrees, which puts me way at the bottom. So I know maybe I am more skilled than somebody is, but on paper, you have to compare it on paper. So anyways, I'm starting to ramble on about that. I think I've shared my frustration with the way influencers or people talk, and I think that we talked about the facts that education pays more. Just make sure you don't pay too much for your education to make a little bit of money. And we didn't even talk about being a doctor. That is okay. Now something has come to my mind that we should continue talking. I think also when you have something specifically that you can't do unless you can go to college, or unless you have to go to college, do it, like being a doctor or being a lawyer, because it's like a requirement. That's also different. And I think that the influencer people that talk about college being a scam, I think they do say things like that, but they also say, like, don't worry about paying too much for college. Like, you don't have to go to the biggest school, which I also think is a waste as well. The biggest schools, it doesn't make any sense. The only reason they go to those schools is for networking. I have heard my kids say that they want to go to college for the college experience, and I don't even know what that means. I mean, I know what it means, but it doesn't mean anything good. It means partying. It means being around a bunch of kids with no adults, that kind of thing. So I'm not pro college experience. I'm pro networking and building relationships, but not, living the college life that you see on TV. That's a little bit crazy. But of course, this is coming from a very conservative Christian dad kind of thought process. But all right. So again, if you're cool, if you like this coffee talk with David kind of style videos, please subscribe. We talk about a lot of different things. We talk about Christianity. We talk about fatherhood, family life. We talk about diet. I'm a carnivore. We talk about I think I said Christianity. We'll say that again because that's number one. And we talk about just different things, how my business is going. I got a coffee company, marketing services, a bunch of different stuff. So if you like all that, you're interested in talking about all kinds of things with me while I drink some coffee in the morning, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.